How we doing, everybody? And welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I am your host, Trage. It is Wednesday, August 7th, a fantastic Wednesday here in the great state of Wisconsin, or wherever you are tuning in. I hope it's a fantastic day there, too. Not if you're on the East Coast. I've heard a lot of rainfall. I mean, even more than we had in Wisconsin, right? A lot of rainfall happening out there because of that tropical storm that was moving in. Hopefully, if you're out there, you're safe, everything's okay, and it slowly moves its way out of there, and it can be a forgotten thing sooner rather than later, right? That's always the hope. Sooner rather than later, we can stop talking about this thing there. So with that, I mean, lots to get into today, a little bit to get into here and there. Not a whole lot happening in the world of sports. I mean, we saw Brewers right now as I'm watching here, recording this on the Tuesday. We're seeing the Brewers, 7-0 over the Braves right now. Big offensive explosion there. I want to talk a little bit more Brewers today. I got some tidbits I want to get into with the Brewers today. Also, a little bit of Badger football, Packer talk, wherever the day takes us, right? Wherever the day takes us. So right away, I want to look at the Badgers, at this Badger football team, because we got into them a little bit there yesterday, but there's a little bit more I wanted to tap into with this team. So watching some of the training camp videos and hearing a little bit, reading some articles and everything like that from some great sports writers in the state of Wisconsin there, I've seen a lot of people talking about the Badgers running a lot of option plays. A lot of plays that have a lot of run plays that have an option element to them. So essentially, quarterback reading generally a backside player, and determining whether to hand the ball off, keep it for himself on zone runs that form the base of the scheme. So that's essentially where we're going with that. So a lot of option element plays happening right now with this Badger team. Now, the only thing that I would say would be that Braden Locke and Tyler Van Dyke, I'm not going to say that they're both terrible runners, because they're not terrible runners, but they're not the speedy guys, right? When you think option offenses, you would think of, just to put into NFL guys like a Lamar Jackson, right? Like Lamar Jackson, that would be a big one that you'd maybe have in an option. Josh Allen likes to get out there and run a little bit, right? You have your faster quarterbacks in there in more of an option kind of offense, even your subpar runners. And that's where I think the Badgers will fall, is the quarterbacks aren't the fastest dudes in the world, right? Van Dyke's not that fast. Neither is Braden Locke. Depending on, we're watching this battle for QB1. Now, I've heard that Tyler Van Dyke is starting to slowly separate himself from Braden Locke, which kind of what I assumed would happen. I honestly didn't expect much of a battle, to be honest. I actually thought that Tyler Van Dyke would just, not a shoe-in. There would still be a little bit of a battle for it, but not this stretched out, right? The Badgers kind of, listening to Luke Fickell and Longo, they kind of want to figure out who QB1 is sooner rather than later, right? And that's a big thing to know. It'd be tough heading into, you're in this, 2 weeks before the season, 1 week before the season, whatever it is, and you're still sitting there like, so who are we throwing underneath the center? We've been working with both these guys predominantly with the ones, right, in training camp. What are we going to do? So to me, it's going to be a good thing to figure out who QB1 is before we get to that point. So I've heard Tyler Van Dyke slowly starting to separate himself from Braden Locke in that aspect. But the Badgers, like I said, they're working on those option plays. A lot of it earlier in camp there. Multiple backs. They're running a lot with multiple backs in there. And a lot of that has to do with, they have two very good freshmen in Darian Dupree and Dillian Jones. Two very good, highly sought, for the Badgers, maybe, some of these guys that I'm going to say highly sought after by the Badgers might be a different story from other places like Alabama and stuff like that. But the Badgers saw these guys. They are great talent from what I saw. Great talent from the highlight films. Very good, moves, as you would say, in the backfield there, getting themselves out into space. Breaking tackles is a huge thing, right? Badgers, they love backs like that, right? We've seen it in the past. Braylon Allen, you have Ches Malusi in there right now, right? You have Ches, so you had Ches Malusi with these two guys here. Very athletic freshmen coming in, and they're already to a pretty good size, right? You think college athlete versus high school athlete. Sometimes there is a jump, and sometimes you got to gain that muscle or gain that ability. These are two guys that are coming in who are, fine tooled. They have some growing to do and everything like that. But you think of two guys who, I believe, if you look at them, they're 3 stars in some rankings. Some had them as 4. So they're not, huge recruits. Not huge, right? Not 5 stars coming in. So they got a little bit of growing to do. And that's generally what you'll see with some of these guys for the Badgers here. So 2 very good backs. Lot of sets now for the Badgers that include multiple backs in it. I think that's going to be interesting. I think it will be. You got this air raid offense, but now you're throwing in an option set to it, right? So now you're going to have the weapons that the Badgers do, right? I think the Badgers have a lot of weapons. You have Ches, you have Will Pauling, you have Bryson Green. I think a lot of people forget about Bryson Green. Vinny Anthony is an explosive wide receiver. That guy, he might be, I don't have the number up in front of me for his 40 time or anything like that, but he might be one of the fastest, one of the fastest guys in the Big Ten. This guy is speedy. He can get out there. So got to watch out for him. They have a lot of playmakers in the room. It's just going to be a matter of how do they get them the ball. And I think having an option element to that offense will be huge, right? Will be huge because I think it's going to allow the Badgers to open up things. Last season, it seemed like we went away from the run. We'd only use the run in certain spots, right? Against certain teams. Iowa seemed like we were trying to run it down their throat at times. There was games where the Badgers relied heavily on the run, games where they relied heavily on the pass. This, I believe, would open up a new avenue for Wisconsin where it's going to be a mixed bag. And that's what I think the Badgers need to get to again, is that mixed bag offense. That, truthfully, I think that's what they have to get to, is a mixed bag offense, because I thought at times they were almost too predictable. I really did. I thought they were too predictable. Now, that has a lot to do with falling into holes early on, putting that pressure on yourself to have to get them explosive plays, trying to make more than what you need to happen at times there. That's where the Badgers fell into a lot of times last year there. So I think I'm honestly interested if this works and this option set in Phil Longo's offense works. It could, this Badger team could look a lot different heading into this season than what we saw last season under Phil Longo. I think it could add a different kind of element to this team. So, looking at what Phil Longo was able to do last year and everything like that, now you got this new regime, you got this new group of guys coming in the room. Tyler Van Dyke leading them there in the transfer portal coming from Miami. And I asked out there, the expectations for the Badgers leading into this season here, looking at the schedule and just kind of seeing where we think this team would lie. So I asked that question out there on Facebook, and I got some replies to it there. And I wanted to share some of the great replies that I had on that one. So the one that I saw out there, and this one came from Ryan Larson. He said, I think any improvement over last season is a win. Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. It was barely sneaking into a bowl game last season, right? And you lead into this season here. The defense struggled last year. The offense struggled last year. They had moments, but it was a lot of struggle, a lot of close games against a lot of bad teams, right? So leading into this season, I think that's a big thing. The defense definitely needs to take a step forward, and we need honestly, at the end of the day, it seems like it's every season we say this with Wisconsin, outside of probably the Russell Wilson season, is they need solid quarterback play. They need solid quarterback play because, like I was just talking, you have the weapons in the room. You need to be able to find out how to use them, right? And the only way to be able to use them successfully is to have solid QB play. So I think that's a big thing. He also went on to say, they've got a very tough schedule this year, so I'm trying to be realistic about my own personal expectations. I believe they have a chance to make a lot of noise in not only the Big Ten, but the national scene as well. 9-3 or 10-2 isn't out of the realm of possibility. Neither is 7-5. I say 8-4 with losses to USC, Oregon, Penn State, and they'll drop 1 to either Iowa or Northwestern there. If he's okay, so does that mean? I guess I'd have to shoot back at him there. I'd have to ask, does that mean he thinks they're going to beat Alabama at home? Because that would be a statement win. And if you get an Alabama win, and this is just in my opinion on this one, if you get an Alabama win in week 3. I think that USC game, I think it looks a lot different. Okay, hypothetically saying Alabama comes into Camp Randall and they just blow the doors off of Wisconsin, right? Alabama just comes in and kicks crap out of them. I think that USC game's tougher because I think the Badgers put a lot more pressure against on themselves in that game against USC. I think if that's what you're saying there is you believe they'll beat Alabama, I do agree. The games that are toss-ups for me, Alabama, USC, Oregon, and Penn State is a toss-up. 2 of those teams I feel like the Badgers can beat, and I feel like they can beat them. I feel like, I could say the Badgers will win those games. Like, not, full on, like I completely believe in it, but pretty good feeling. Penn State and USC. Those are the 2 where I sit there and I'm like, I really do think they can win those games. I really do. Alabama's going to be tough. I still think they're tough, even with Nick Saban stepping out, right? I still think that's a tough team. Jalen Milroe is coming back, and I still think Alabama's going to be a tough foe. So that's going to be a tough one. That's tough to pick against Alabama. It's at home at Camp Randall, so I think it's going to be huge. It would be a huge win for the Badgers, and I think it sets them well the rest of the way. Oregon's going to be a very tough game. Dillian Gabriel transferring up there. I mean, they have playmakers galore in Oregon right now. I think that's going to be a tough game. Now, it's at Camp Randall. The biggest thing that I see in this schedule that bodes well for this Badger team, the home games. Excuse me there. Home against Alabama. Home against Penn State. Home against Oregon. I think that's massive, right? I think that's huge. Now, where the trouble lies, and this is where I'm seeing where you're saying with the one loss coming to a team like Nebraska, like Iowa. Or no, you said Northwestern. My mistake there. My mistake there on what you said there. But Northwestern and Iowa, those are the 2, even Nebraska team. Those games are on the road, right? Going to Iowa City is tough because that defense is good. And it's usually, when the Badgers and Iowa meet, it's a dogfight, right? We always know it as a dogfight. So, yes, that Iowa game is going to be tough. I think it's going to be even tougher because it's on the road. I think that game against Penn State would change, for me, the ability for if you ask me right now, percentage-wise, what do I think, Penn State, Wisconsin, percentage chance Wisconsin can win that game or lose that game, right? What is my percent at? I would say I'd give the Badgers 60% chance to win it, right? Playing at home. Now, this is all hypotheticals because we have to see this team on the field first, right? We got to see this team on the field against real competition. But I'm just thinking playmakers, everything like that, I think the Badgers can beat Penn State at home. Looking at USC, no Caleb Williams anymore. They have a decent quarterback coming in now. We don't know. There's things we know about him, right? But at the same time, USC's defense stunk last year. So the USC game on the road, that one looks a little tough, right? That one looks a little tough. Oregon and Alabama at home. If you win one of those games, I don't care which one. I would rather honestly see the Badgers beat Oregon because for some reason, deep down inside, I think it must be that Justin Herbert year when the Badgers lost to him in the Rose Bowl. And there was a controversial calls all over the place. And I dislike Oregon with passion. I just dislike them with a passion. So if they could beat Oregon, that'd be great. I think if you win one of those 2 games, right? Okay, you beat Alabama early on. I think that makes the USC game not easier, but I think it makes me feel better about going to USC and playing them there. I think that really does. So I would say you beat Alabama and you beat USC. The Penn State game's still tough, right? It always seems like, and this just is like a growing trend, the Badgers find a way to lose to a bad team. They find a way to lose a bad team. I don't know. I don't think they're going to lose to Western Michigan, and I don't think they're going to lose to South Dakota. Those would be 2, season over losses right there for the Badgers for any national scene noise. But I do think they beat Purdue. I do think they beat Rutgers, right? Northwestern, you never know what to expect with Northwestern. It's at Northwestern, which will be tough, but I think the Badgers will win that game. I think their toughest game, honestly, unless if Nebraska figures it out this year, bringing in a 5-star quarterback doesn't just automatically make you a contender. I don't know who needs to hear that, but everybody was like, oh my gosh, they got this guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. I don't even worry about it that much off the top of my head, but they got him. Now it's like, oh my gosh, now we're like this big time contender. Pump the brakes. Got to see it first, right? So Nebraska, looking at them, I'm not as worried about Nebraska. I would say the toughest game in there will be Iowa. I really do, just because the defense is always good for Iowa. That's just plain and simple. It seems like it's always a dogfight, and it's always a low-scoring game. So that, I believe, will be the toughest game. In the outside of those, the Alabama, USC, Penn State, and Oregon, I think that toughest game will be Iowa. I really do. Now, is that saying the Badgers won't lose a game outside of that? I'm not going to say that. But I think that's going to be the toughest game of that stretch. So I love that comment there. I love that comment. 9-3 and 10-2 isn't out of the realm. I agree. This season, it's up in the air. I believe, honestly, I said it myself. I believe this team is going to be probably around an 8 or 9 win team. That's where I had them. 10 wins would be awesome. 10 wins would be awesome. I think they can make some definite noise. But if I'm looking at it right now, I'm definitely looking in that 8 to 9 win range there. Tim, I'm sorry, Tim. I'm going to butcher your name here, but Tim Gennardi. I don't know. Gennardi. We're going to call it close enough there. I'm sorry that I butchered your name there. I'm really sorry. But he said 2 to 3 years from actually contending. Yeah, I truthfully, I'm with you there. I think this team, they're slowly building, right? It might take a couple years. We hope that it doesn't. I just want to see them progress season by season. I want to see, the building towards something and being able to compete in this overloaded Big Ten now, right? So I can definitely see where you're saying this team is a little bit away yet. I can see that. And I can also, say that I really do in those years, though, because I can definitely see that. But in those years, I definitely want to see this Badger team start to trend upwards and be able to handle teams like, the teams that they should, right? And then maybe even beat a team like Oregon. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but beat a team like Oregon or beat a team like Penn State. Prove that you belong with the top teams in the Big Ten or play with them, right? If you put a dogfight on with Oregon, at the end of the day, yeah, if it's that close, will you be upset? Yeah. I mean, last year, Ohio State, I thought there was moments in that game where the Badgers had a shot. They had a shot, and they just couldn't find it. They couldn't find those little things here and there, and the Ohio State was able to do their thing. That's one of those games where it's like, at the end of it, you're like, crap, it was so close, the closest we've been in a while to beating a team like that. But there's something to build off of, right? A momentum booster because you played with a team like that. So I definitely agree there are 2 to 3 years. And he also went on to say, I stopped being a Badgers fan when I accepted they don't really want to win championships and never will. Been a Gators fan since the league days and never looked back. Being a Badger fan is tough. I got to be honest with you. I can, you just point blank told me, you kind of shifted off there. I could see it. It is tough. It is honestly, you look at Wisconsin sports in general, the Packers and the Bucks right now, they always seem, Packers always seem to put a pretty good team together, right? And the Bucks, as of late, have been spending money to try and get better. But you look at teams like the Brewers, and you look at teams like the Badgers, and I know it's professional versus, college and everything like that, but it doesn't seem like, end of the day, they do anything to get that much better, right? I mean, we've had this conversation about Greg Gard before. We've had this conversation about Luke Fickell last year. We've had this conversation about the Brewers, and the Brewers, different story. Maybe they don't have the highest payroll, but they don't make simple moves, right? They don't make simple moves. And with Wisconsin, sometimes it comes down to coaching, right? Recruiting better, getting out there on the recruiting trails, recruiting harder, stuff like that. It's those little things mixed into there. And I could definitely see where you're talking there, where It's hard. It's hard because it just, at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't seem like they really want to win a championship. They're just good with being good. They're good with being average. They're good with being good enough and being able to get to a Big Ten championship game, but ultimately getting just trounced by a better opponent like Ohio State has in the past, or Penn State, or, teams like that. So I can definitely see that. I can definitely, I'm sorry to lose you as a Badger fan. Sorry to lose you as a Badger fan, but it's tough. It really is sometimes being a Badger fan. So Dustin Reese, good old friend of the show, Dustin Reese. There, he reports for Chicago Sports HQ. He's a Cubs fan though, so we can't just completely let that go on him. But he says if Van Dyke can deliver, they have a good shot to contend for a title. Still, I expect a 9-4 season this year, as they will be much better. As they will be a much better time. Yeah, I mean, that goes back to a recent comment there with the good quarterback play. If they get solid quarterback play, they have some playmakers that they can make this thing happen. So I'm definitely looking at Van Dyke and saying that if Van Dyke has a good year, if he has an over-the-top year, the Badgers will be sitting pretty at the end of the year. I really do think. I think the defense is definitely going to take a step forward. I think they have some playmakers. Hunter Wohler, Holman coming back on that defense. They've added a lot of pieces in there. Peterson's in there. Poose is in there. Barton. They have a good defense. They just needed to find that solid QB play. It seems like we're looking for it every year, and I completely agree there, Dustin. If they find good play in Tyler Van Dyke, I think that's going to be a big boost. Looking at another comment there, Jeff Soldner, he said 9 wins. 9 wins. That's where he's expectations for this year. Like I said before, I'm right there. 8 to 9 wins. 8 to 9 wins. I'm right there with you. Douglas A. Kaus. I'm sorry once again if I butcher last names. I'm sorry for that one there. I'm sorry. But he said, I think it's too early to tell. Contend for Big Ten. Don't think so. I do believe they will surprise some teams. The offense has to start early, and I mean first game early. No time for a learning curve. I agree with that. It seems like it takes the Badgers a while to get going, right? Even in games, we get to mid-season, it's like we're still trying to figure things out. I completely agree. I mean, you can go through moments. Alabama went through moments last year early on, right? They had a quarterback carousel in-house for like 5 games last year where they were trying to figure out who's going to be the quarterback of this team. And they finally settled on Milroe, and it ended up turning out great for Alabama. But it's hard to do that when you don't have Alabama's got a lot of playmakers who can make things happen even without some of the other things working, right? This Badger team needs everything to work. They need everything to be flowing. They need to be ready to go week 1. I completely agree with that. You have 2 tune-up games with Western Michigan and South Dakota where you need to win those games handily. You need to do everything right, and you need to get ready for Alabama, right? And it's no learning curve. I completely agree. You cannot have such a big learning curve midway through the season. You need to be cooking, and you need to be ready to go week 1 because you've had all offseason to figure it out. You've had this coaching staff has been together now. They understand things. They've worked together. They understand each other now. This is when the Badgers need to hit it early, and they need to go. I completely agree with you there. And like I've said earlier, I mean, yeah, I completely agree. It's very early. It's very, very early to be able to tell things like this, but I mean, looking at the roster, looking at all the things that we kind of see with this team from last season to this season, now adding in a new quarterback, the first couple games will tell us a lot, but week 3 is going to tell us a load of what we need to know about this Badgers team and what the rest of the season may entail for this team there. So, I mean, those are some of the expectations of some of the fans that we have and some of the fans that commented out there. And like I said, I mean, I basically gave my expectations for this Badger team in that. So I don't have much more to add on top of that. I think this season, I'm excited. I'm excited, like I said earlier, with the option offense kind of being added in there. The defense, I believe, is going to be better. And I believe now, having a year or so together, this coaching staff, I think it's going to be big. I do, a lot of these comments saying it's Badgers 9 wins. I think they have the ability to make some real noise in the Big Ten and on the national scene. I really do think so. So with that, just a tidbit with the Packers right now, it was reported Jordan Love and a majority of the veterans, a good amount of veterans, will start for Green Bay here in the preseason. So are against the Browns. So early on in the preseason here, I don't disagree with that at all. A lot of people might say, well, why are we starting them so early? A lot of teams don't do things like that. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Get these guys out there, give them some reps together, and you just kind of roll the dice. You want to see what happens with these guys. I don't expect to see guys like Josh Jacobs out there. I don't know. Zach Tom will be coming back. He's supposed to be back now with the offensive line. I believe it's going to be next week, I think. He's going to be back maybe later on this week. Tucker Kraft will be back. I don't know if we'll see those guys against the Browns, right? But I do expect that those guys will get some preseason time later on. I'm liking it. I like the mentality of getting these guys out there, even some guys on the defense, and just letting them get some in-game reps. It's preseason, so it's not balls to the walls. But preseason, you see a lot of second stringers who are giving it. Right? They're giving it, and you're going to get better reps in there than you will in practice, especially because you can hit somebody now, right? You can actually hit somebody. That's a big difference between preseason and training camp and stuff like that, is you can hit somebody and not worry that it's your teammate that you just clocked, right? So I think that's a big thing there. So good news there. Former Packer Adrian Amos is signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good for Adrian Amos, right? Sticking around in the NFL, getting a new contract there with the Jags. And also, the Green Bay Packers did release Jacob Eason, quarterback there. So, Sean Clifford gets to keep his job. Congratulations, Sean. He's apparently, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, he's been stinking it up. He's been stinking it up for this Packers team in training camp. So, I mean, I've never hated the guy. He went to Penn State. I usually don't like Penn State guys. But, I mean, Saquon never really did me any wrong, and neither did Sean Clifford. I mean, not terribly, so they're okay. They're okay. They didn't go to Ohio State. That's the big thing. I don't know what it is about those Ohio State guys, but they just rub me the wrong way. I don't know why. CJ Stroud's a nice guy, so I can't solidly say that. CJ Stroud's a nice guy. There's probably other nice guys to come out of there, but it's just Ohio State. I just don't like them. When they're at Ohio State, I guess it's just worse. It's like Duke guys. I just don't like Duke guys, right? It was hard for me to get over Grayson Allen coming to the Bucs there for a while. So with that, before we move on, before we get into a little bit of Brewer chatter for the day here, I want to get to our great sponsors of the show here quick. First, Game Day Supply in Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Alaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. If you've been injured recently, whether it was at work, whether you were pushing the lawnmower, playing with the kids, whatever you were doing, you felt something pop, tear, it didn't sound right, you went to your doctor, they said you better go see a physical therapist, stop in there and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. He'll get you right. He'll get you back to work, back pushing the lawnmower, back playing with the kids, feeling better than ever. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. Sports Scene, Sports Cards and Memorabilia, located in the Marshfield Mall in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Get down there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sporting cards to memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports Scene in Marshfield. Marshfield Motor Speedway is located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Get down there this summer yet. Tons of family fun to be had yet this summer. Great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. Nothing better than a great summer day or night down at the track there. Marshfield Motor Speedways, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. And also your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield, Wisconsin there. So with that, let's get to, autumn is not here today, as you guys probably noticed. Autumn is not here, so I guess I'm going to have to just somehow figure out how to give a fact of the day. Fact of the day here. So on this day, we go way back with this one. We go way back. We go to 1890. Future Hall of Fame pitcher Cy Young throws 3 hit balls in his MLB debut for the Cleveland Spiders in an 8-1 win over the Chicago Colts. Wow. Huh. 1937, MLB overturns New York Yankees 7-6 win over the Cleveland Indians because of an umpire error. Interesting. Interesting one there. American athlete Forrest Towns runs world record 14.1 in 110-meter hurdles semifinals at the Berlin Olympics. Later can't match the time, but wins the gold medal in the finals. Also, in 1908, St. Louis Cardinals Johnny Lush pitches second career no-hitter in a 2-0 win over the Brooklyn Superbats. Change of MLB rules makes this unofficial as game was shortened by rain. Oh, piss off, MLB, with that. Come on now. Because of the rain? Because of the rain? Are you kidding me? Oh. In my book, Johnny Lush threw a no-hitter that day. He threw a no-hitter. I don't care. Was it like 2 innings? I don't know. How shortened was it? Was it like 2 innings? Was it 3? Right? If this baby went 7 innings and we aren't counting this as a no-hitter, whatever. We don't even care that much. We don't care. It was for the Cardinals, right? It was for the Cardinals. Who cares, right? So, with that, I'm not as good at fact of the day. I'll be honest with you. I'm not as good at fact of the day as Autumn is. Not as good. I tried. I put my best foot forward. I put my best effort in. We'll say that for the day there. So, hopefully she's back tomorrow. And we can get a real fact of the day there. I gave a sports fact. She gives me random facts, right? So with that, getting into the Brewer talk, let's get away from that. Let's get to the Brewers here. We see just some updates on some rehab assignments. So we see Brian Hudson. He's going to continue that rehab assignment. He was sidelined since January 27th with that left oblique strain there. Sorry about that. Was waiting for the Brewers when they arrived in Atlanta after throwing a scoreless inning for AAA Nashville on Sunday. But after a check-in with Milwaukee's medical staff, he departed before the Brewers-Braves series opener to rejoin the Sounds at home for a multi-inning appearance scheduled for Tuesday. After that, it's to be determined, that said manager Pat Murphy, who is encouraged by the recent progress of both Hudson and Trevor McGill, who's also out with an oblique. We'd like to get Hudson back as soon as we can, Murphy said there. So, good news there. Hudson's throwing. Not with the team tonight, but luckily the Sounds are close by, so he was able to basically just travel up the road and go join the Sounds there, pitch a multi-inning appearance, and see what we can find. Out of that. Outside of that, not a whole lot happening. On the injury front for the Brewers. Waiting to see some statuses of some guys like D.L. Hall, who's slowly working his way back. Nothing about Christian Yelich as of late here. Trevor McGill working his way back yet. Zanstrinsky going to be working his way back here pretty soon. J.B. Buckus has been working his way back slowly here. And hopefully, a lot of people have forgot about this guy, but Paredes. A lot of people forgot about Paredes, but Paredes slowly working his way back, hopefully getting back in the Brewers rotation at some point, right? At some point here. That'd be great news. To get a guy like Paredes back on this in this bullpen, because he was fantastic before going out with injury. I kind of, honestly, I said a lot of people forgot about him. I kind of forget about him sometimes. I mean, he was a wonder. He was a wonder for this Brewers team when he first stepped in, and kind of just forgot about him, right? Forgot about him because we've been so worried about Devin Williams and everything like that. Paredes was huge for the Brewers for a while there. I was just going to pull up his stats real fast before he actually went out, because he was fantastic. He did get roughed up a little bit, I remember, or had a couple of outings there where he did get, gave up a couple runs, but 1.08 ERA in 16 innings. Yeah, I'd take Paredes back too. You get guys like Hudson, Paredes, and McGill back. I don't know. I'm gonna say this now. Hobie Milner, Payamps, Paguero. Those guys, Bryce Wilson in that bullpen, those guys might be on a really short leash coming up here if those guys start trending in the right direction. Also, depending on what happens with D.L. Hall, right? What's the plan with Hall when he comes back? Is he going to be a bullpen guy? Is he going to be in the starting rotation? What are their plans with Hall? I don't know. You have a lot of arms. Who are working their way back. Hopefully they do get back and are solid once again from what we saw early on there. Like even a guy like Zastrinsky, if he doesn't possibly get into a starter's role Zastrinski coming back is going to be big for the Brewers. I mean, he was pitching very well before he actually went out. I was just going to check out his stats, too. Zastrinski there. He looked good. 7 innings, 1.17 ERA coming out of the bullpen. He was great. I mean, they have a lot of guys who are currently on this IL right now with pretty good. I mean, JB Butkus, 6 games, 6 innings, 1.50 ERA for Butkus. I mean, there's a lot of dudes, a lot of guys on the injured list right now for the Brewers that have put up good numbers this year. So hopefully we get some of these guys back and they can continue that great trend that they were having early on there for this team. So with that, we saw last night for the Brewers, they played, from what I'm seeing so far, playing a pretty good game here. But we saw Pat Murphy. He rolled out a different style lineup. Something that we haven't really seen Pat do this year. Changing it up kind of mightily. Not mightily. But a definite change. We saw Bryce Strang in the leadoff spot, followed by Jackson Chourio. And then we saw Garrett Mitchell, William Contreras, Willy Adames, Jake Bauers, Rhys Hoskins, Sal Frelick, and then Joey Ortiz, right? That's what we saw last night. Now, apparently the lineup worked, right? It did 9 runs so far, from what I can see here in the 6. So a pretty good lineup he put together there, scoring runs. Now, you can't just say that was what I had planned, right? That's what Pat Murphy would probably tell you. That's what I had planned. But, okay, so we changed the lineup. Now, I just wanted to... We see that lineup there. I kind of wanted to give what I would put as my lineup right now, because my lineup may differ from what most people or what some people may say right now. So if I were to make up a lineup right now, I would have right now leading off. I'm looking at Terang and I'm looking at Mitchell. Those are my 2 guys where I'm saying right now, I would put them in that leadoff spot. I think both those guys have the ability. They get on base. When they get on base, they are definite base-stealing threats. I love those 2, having those 2 as options at the top of the order there. Now, that's not saying, you even look at a guy like Sal Frelick. He's batting .267 over the last 7 games. He's .318. He's been a pretty solid bat for the Brewers this year, and a contact guy. He can get on base. He can steal some bases, 15 stolen bases. He's also a threat to run. So I'm not just completely dialing him out, but Terang and Mitchell, I feel like, those 2 at the top of the order, they bring you a little bit of that extra base hit kind of thing at top of the order, while also just the contact ability and the ability to get on base and then steal bases. So I like those 2 guys. Those would be my 2 guys that I would toss around there for that first spot. In my number 2 hole, I have Jackson Chourio. I like Chourio in the 2 spot. Now, that's without Christian Yelich in there, so I think that does change a little bit of perspective there. But I would personally like to see Jackson Chourio in that 2 spot. To me, Contreras is my 3-hitter. Contreras, yes, he has struggled as of late, but that game last night against the Braves, he got a couple of big hits, right? He had a double, he had a triple, a couple of big hits for the Brewers. I like Contreras in that 3 hole. My 4 and 5, I feel like you could flip, and this one might be where the controversy comes in. Rhys Hoskins, to me, he's my power. He's my power guy. Rhys Hoskins, I just truthfully believe will find it at some point. I am just dead set. I don't know what it is, but I'm dead set he will find it. I don't know what possesses me to say that I want him in my cleanup spot, because he has had some struggle this year, but over the last 30 games, he's got 8 home runs. Over the last 15, he has 5. Over the last 7, he has 2. 4 RBIs, 21 RBIs in the last 30 games. I honestly think moving this guy, Rhys Hoskins, up in the lineup would actually instill some confidence in Rhys. I think it would. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him moved up to the 5, even a 4. I think I have Willy Adames currently in my spot right behind Hoskins in a 4 or 5. I think you can interchange those 2, but I like those 2 in the middle of the order. Hoskins is a bomb threat, right? He's a big bat, and that's what I want in my 4 or 5 spot. I want my big bats. Willie, Hoskins. Those are my big bats. I think those 2 back-to-back, I'd love it. I'd like it. Right? So, that's where I'm looking right now, my 4 to 5 spots right now. Hoskins, Adames, interchange those 2. In my 6th spot, I'm looking at Sal Frelick. I think Frelick in that 6 hole is perfect. They have him bat anywhere from 6. He was 8 last night. I like him in that range right there. In that 6th spot, I would say. last night made some pretty good contact. I thought he was, putting the ball in play, he was hitting it, but like I said before, Frelick's one of those guys who he doesn't have the power. So it seems like when he puts a good drive into a baseball, it doesn't have that ability to get that little extra oomph on it there. So like I said, had a couple good drives last night out to right field, but nice play out there and right by, I believe, Soler was out there for the Braves, and a couple of nice plays by him out there, judging the ball just right on those liners. You don't want to shoot Sal Frelick for it. Those are some good hits. It was good hits. It was just right at him. So Frelick's my 6. My 7 hole, that's where I interchange guys like Mitchell and Turang again. I have them in my leadoff spot interchanging. I would have them in my 7 spot interchanging too. I think you can get away with either one of them there. I like them down at the bottom there because they're RBI guys. They're also base stealing threats. Because my last 2 guys in this order, I believe, will, technically all 3 of these guys, have the ability to drive in runs and also put the ball in play and get runs in too. So in my 8 spot right now, I'm looking at Sanchez and Bowers, right? Probably interchanging there in that DH role. I would have those 2 guys in there. They add some power. They both have some thump there, Bowers and Sanchez, but not over the top and average. I'm looking at my 8 spot. Right now, Joey Ortiz is my 9. If he keeps hitting like he did last night, he had a pretty good game last night there for the Brewers. He was 2 for 4. As I'm seeing right now, he had a pretty good game. So Joey Ortiz, if he gets going again, I'd love to see Joey Ortiz get moved back up into the heart of this order like it was early on. But as of right now, he is in my 9 spot. Like I said, everybody's got their own lineups. Everybody's got their own way that they'd roll it out. To me, I roll it out like I'm looking for my 1's my speed guy. My 1's the guy who gets on base and could set the table for everybody. My 2 is a contact guy with a little bit of pop, not a whole lot, but he's got the ability to put the ball, extra base hits kind of guy. My number 3 guy's got the pop. He's got the extra base hits. He's all that for me. Number 4, that's my power. That's my big bat. That's my guy that when he's up there, yes, he can put the ball in play. Maybe he's got a good average, but I'm looking for some pop in my 4 spot. In my 5 spot, I'm looking 4 and 5. Those are my pop guys. 5, they might have a good average, either one of them, but they're RBI guys, they're power guys. That's where I want them there. My 6, he's going to set up the table again. He's going to set up the table. He's going to clean up the mess for those cleanup hitters in the middle. My 7's my speed guy again. Get on base, get going, get the bottom of the order going. My 8, my 9, hopefully setting the table back up for my top of the order there. My 8 guy, I'd like some pop in there, and I like Sanchez and Bowers in my 8 spot with a little bit of pop, the ability to drive the baseball there at the bottom of the order. Spreading out the power hitters in there and keeping them more, because you could say Sanchez or Bowers up in the 6th spot, right? You want some pop in the middle, right? Between 4, 5, and 6. I like to spread it because you get more, you get some guys on base. Here comes my extra base hit guys, my guys who are going to hit for power. So that's my lineup. That's my lineup right now. I don't know what your guys' lineup would be. That'd be interesting to know. Leave a review for me or send the fan mail there. Go in the bio, click send us a text message. Click that, send it to us. The fan mail there, show me your lineup, which you would have out there right now for this Brewer team. But with that, to wrap it up for the day here, I saw, and I really didn't want to, I saw what the video was going to be and I still watched it. But Freddie Freeman, if you haven't heard the whole story, his son Max, Freddie Freeman, his son Max, has been struggling as of late. He was in the hospital. I believe I was just going to, I don't want to get it wrong with what, I believe they called it GPS is what they called it there. It's called GBS is what it's called. GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's a very rare syndrome there in his 3-year-old son, Max. So he came on, he was having a press conference, and oh my goodness, trying to sit through that, right? You try to be as tough as you can, but you could feel it, right? This is a 3-year-old kid who's dealing with a situation where he is losing the ability to do anything, right? He's losing the ability to walk. He can't talk. He's losing the ability, he was talking about it and he said they went to see a pediatrician. And the pediatrician immediately told him to go to the hospital because he didn't know how much longer this kid was going to be able to do it by himself. Like everything it was like this heartbreaking story that you're hearing right now. Now, great news is Max is home. Max is home. He's got a long road to recovery, right? He's got to, what Freddie said is he's got to get feeling back. He's got to get his hands going again. He's got to get, the walking is still a struggle. He's got a lot of PT, right? A lot of PT. So, but it's great news. Great news that Max is home. But in his speech, and I thought this was awesome. They were asking him questions. They asked him the first question about, everything that happened. So he gave the big, everything that happened day by day, everything like that. And then a reporter asked a question about, the support from around the league. And he talked about, the Dodgers and everybody inside that organization who basically said, like, take all the time you need. You don't worry about us. We'll take you back when you're ready, and that was great. Great on the Dodgers, everything like that. And then he went on to mention, and he said, the only, I guess, organization outside of that he quoted, and I thought it was just absolutely fantastic, absolutely awesome, was he said Pat Murphy and his staff actually sent a video to him and his family. They sent this a pretty long, basically to sum it up, just sending our thoughts and prayers out to you guys and everything like that. But to hear something like that where, Pat Murphy and his staff in a moment that, they're not the Dodgers. This guy isn't a part of the Brewers organization, but for, those seconds to say to yourself, yes, this is bigger than baseball. We don't care about what's going on with the Brewers right now. We're going to reach out to Freddie Freeman and make sure that he knows that us as Brewer fans, us as a baseball community, the Brewer players, the Brewers coaches, everything like that, we're with you. We are praying for you. We're praying for your boy. We're praying for your family, that everything is better. I thought that was just, it absolutely just, it was like that feel good. It was like that feel good moment that, you have, for Freddie Freeman there, it's a feel good moment to know that even a team, that isn't in your division, you don't see them a lot. This team reaches out with a long video that's basically, giving their thoughts and prayers and, talking to them and saying, we hope everything's okay and everything like that. We're praying that everything gets better. That was awesome. So that's a feel good. That's a feel good thing to end it on for the day there. It's just great. That was fantastic by Pat Murphy. That was fantastic by the staff of this Milwaukee Brewer team. Man, oh man. I did not expect that. Watching that video of his press conference, I did not expect that. That was absolutely fantastic, and they definitely deserve oh my, that's awesome. That's awesome. That was great. Great to hear. And it's, like I said, it is great to hear that Max is home from the hospital and that he is slowly recovering and he's able to talk and, they can see him smiling again. Like everything's great with Max right now. So that's great news on that end, and thoughts and prayers with him and the Freeman family that everything continues to improve from here on out. So with that great news, with that great story, that's going to wrap us up. That's going to wrap us up for today. That's a great story to end it on. No tangents today, nothing like that. That was a great story to end it on there. So with that, like I always say, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Make sure you check us out there. Lots of good stuff happening on those. Also, if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, wherever, make sure you drop down, hit the like, hit the subscribe, give us a rating, give us a review, let us know what you thought. Anything that you'd love to hear, anything you'd love to add into the show, segments, stuff like that, would love to hear from you guys out there. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. But until I talk to you guys again tomorrow, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river, I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin, burdened by the heart of man. Down to the river, down to the river.